Video games have been around for decades and became a huge part in entertainment. Even with its impact on our world, it does have some criticism, like saying how it's making kids less social with others or less physically fit. Though, for some strange or ridiculous reason, video games seem to be the blame for the many mass shootings happening in our world. What's your opinion on the subject of video game violence?
I think the media likes to fabricate it a lot, especially since a lot of news sources said, "Oh, video games are the reasons why kids are doing shootings and all that," which isn't true. I think that personally is just an excuse to not go over the real issues, which is probably has to do with the environment that the person in question's in. Maybe they're struggling with mental health. Maybe they're environment so poor that they flat out cannot get help and will not get the help they possibly need. Instead, we're kind of seeing the fact that we're seeing that video game violence is like the cause of these major shootings and all that, which just isn't true at all. It's just, in my opinion, just a major coincidence.
Some people and even the government think that the shooters were influenced to do this from M-rated video games, giving them more reason to keep kids from playing video games in general. Of all things that people should be worrying about, video game violence is the most ridiculous. Like, video games don't cause violence. In fact, it does the exact opposite and educates people, like me, from learning how to read more, or to learning patience and survival skills and playing more stuff. One thing's for sure, it's not the reason why these people are causing shootouts. It's ridiculous. But before we discuss how the statement video games cause people to become violent is false, we need to know how this topic even started in the first place. The video game violence topic started surfacing in the year of 1992, the year when one of the most gruesome video game franchises came to the world. An iconic fighting game where you fight your opponent to the death and kill them in the most fatal way, called a
fatality.
While most games such as Doom were very violent and well known, they didn't get a lot of people's attention like Mortal Kombat did when it first released. Escher from the Smithsonian magazine stated, while more recent games like the Doom series, the Kill and Floor series, and Grand Theft Auto are all violent and more realistic than Mortal Kombat, the fighting game was staggeringly violent and extremely gory for its time. This got not only kids' attention to the game, but also parents, and they didn't like seeing their kids playing that game during the time. It got so much attention that the government got involved. The former U.S. Connecticut Senator Joe Lieberman holding professional meetings about the concern of video game violence near the end of 1993. During those meetings, one representative of the National Coalition on Television Violence said that games like Mortal Kombat were quote-unquote training early killers. This made video game companies create a rating system to follow and assign which game is appropriate for kids, teens, and or adults, called the Entertainment Software Rating Board, or ESRB for short, hoping that they don't get into a situation like that again. But the government's involvement with video games got worse in the next several years. Has video games ever made you violent or aggressive?
No,
Alright.
why would they?
In recent times, the government tries to push the idea that video games are the reason why people become violent by bringing up mass shootings. One of them that's being mentioned by the government was the mass shooting at a Walmart in El Paso, Texas, with the gunman killing 22 people and injuring 24. Politicians thought that this attack was caused by the influence of violent video games. According to Parkin from Time, in a speech on Monday, President Trump responded to two sad recent tragedies. One in Dayton, Ohio, one in El Paso, Texas, by condemning gruesome and grisly video games that are now commonplace, which he argued create a culture that celebrates violence. Video games have never turned me into a violent person. Sure, I play the M-rated games nowadays, but they have never made me violent at all. But the gunman confirmed that the shooting was a response to the Hispanic invasion of Texas, meaning video games weren't the reason for that horrible event. It was both poor gun control and racism. Another mass shooting that happened at a high school in Parkin, Florida, was also an example of the government blaming video games and not gun control. Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin believed that the attack was caused by violent entertainment that was affecting people's minds. Bevin explains that he was in a school in New England, and during some show and tells, he said kids actually brought in guns in front of the class. He also says sometimes they'd be in kids' lockers. Nobody even thought about shooting other people with them. So it's not a gun problem. That didn't even explain why video game violence was the reason for these shootings. So far, the government hasn't shown any evidence that video games make people more violent, because there isn't any evidence at all. This may surprise some of you that don't know, but video games have been shown to be educational, from simple reading to critical thinking to improving social skills when playing with others. How has video games changed your life, in a way?
It helped me connect people, especially since personally I've always had trouble connecting with people in terms of like a bunch of things. And growing up, I was very lonely because of that. And it wasn't until I got older and pretty much gained more, I guess, experience in life, especially on a more personal note. I moved around a lot growing up. I moved to different states. So I get to, I guess, had a bit of a interesting experience about meeting different types of people. And because of that, I got to know people that I like the things that I liked, and it was such a nice feeling too, which is something I didn't really have growing up. So yeah, video games kind of helped change that a lot.
Especially for college. Well,
yeah.
Academic.
Oh yeah.
And there's plenty more. There have been educational games before, but when kids were playing Minecraft and Roblox more than them, schools decided to use that opportunity to get the free educational versions of those games to teach kids. Even if we exclude games that are for kids and or are education based, games that are just for fun have shown to educate players as well. One of the biggest examples of this was how playing an Assassin's Creed game helped a woman named Katie Klein pass a quiz about the Caribbean. Klein stated, "When I was a teenager playing Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed series, I definitely wasn't looking to learn things." Klein loved playing video games and forgot about an upcoming map quiz that her history teacher prepared when students had to label cities and countries from the Caribbean. The surprising thing is that she got an A on that quiz, and she accomplished it by playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag, a game that takes place in the Caribbean. This would later paint a brighter future for schools to use video games to their advantage, even with games like Assassin's Creed. So with all that in mind, saying video games cause people to become violent is false. There is no evidence to suggest that people actually become violent when playing video games. In fact, there have been multiple reasons why video games are educational for people, even when they're just playing the game for fun. Parents and adults don't have to worry about video games at all. Video games have changed my entire life. from make me learn new stuff that I would never learn. But me and before the pandemic started, like when I was in college, is I made me play with so many people that I now consider her true friends. And, and it's all because of playing video games.